Greetings. Another day of reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be reading the chapter entitled How Maharaja Pariksit received the age of Kali. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 4. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Bhagavatam 1, 2, 18. Krishna svadamopagate dharma jnana divisaha kalo nastadrishamesha Puranarko Dunoditaha. After Lord Krishna departed for his own abode, along with religious principles and transcendental knowledge, this Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, has arisen like the sun in this age of Kali to enlighten those who have lost their spiritual vision. Chapter 16, Text 1. Sutta Goswami said, put a little background music on. Today the background music is from Hari Prasad Chaurasiya. It's a daytime raga, Rag Desi. Sutta Goswami said, O learned Brahmanas, Maharaj Pariksit then began to rule over the world as a great devotee of the Lord, under the instructions of the best of the twice-born Brahmanas. He ruled by those great qualities which were foretold by expert astrologers at the time of his birth. So an important point here is that Maharaj Pariksit, who was the king of the world at that time, he was ruling under the guidance of learned Brahmanas, he had saintly people giving him advice. And it's described that Maharaj Pariksit, all his wonderful qualities were described in his astrological chart. King Pariksit married the daughter of King Uttara and begot 4 sons headed by Maharaj Janamejai. Maharaj Pariksit, after having selected Kripacharya for guidance as his spiritual master, performed 3 horse sacrifices on the bank of the Ganges. These were executed with sufficient rewards for the attendants. And at these sacrifices, even the common man could see the demigods. So the important point here is that Maharaj Pariksit had a spiritual master, and he was performing his sacrifices under the spiritual master's guidance. And in those sacrifices, in those times, this is before, just right before the full-blown arrival of the age of Kali, that even the demigods were attending his sacrifices, and even the common man could see them, that they had come, that Lord Brahma had come, that Narada had come, the moon god, the sun god, even Yamaraj, which you'll hear about, the superintendent of death, would attend these sacrifices. Once, when Maharaj Pariksit was on his way to conquer the world, he saw the master of Kali Yuga, Kali personified, who was lower than a Sudra, disguised as a king, and herding the legs of a cow and bull. The king at once caught hold of him to deal sufficient punishment. Shanaka Rishi, it's like Sutta Goswami is narrating this pastime to all the learned sages at that time. He makes this statement, and Shanaka is like, hold it. Why did Maharaj Pariksit simply punish him? He was the lowest of Sudras, having dressed as a king and having struck a cow with his leg. Please describe all these incidents if they relate to the topics of Lord Krishna. So Shanaka is saying that, please tell us why he just didn't kill him at that time. He should have killed him. Why did he only punish him? But only tell us if these topics relate to the activities and pastimes of Lord Krishna. He continues, he says, the devotees of the Lord are accustomed to licking up the honey available from the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the use of topics which simply waste one's valuable time? At this sacrifice, all the most learned scholars and devotees and munis and sages were present. So they didn't want to waste their time with this regular mundane topics. They said, if this has some connection with the Lord, then narrate it. Otherwise, don't. Shaunaka continues. He says, O Sutta, there are those amongst men who desire freedom from death. Right? Which is everybody. Who desire freedom from death and get eternal life. They escape the slaughtering process by calling the controller of death Yamaraj. I'll read the purport. It's a very beautiful purport. Srila Prabhupada says, he says, the living entity, as it develops from lower animal life to higher human being, and gradually to higher intelligence, becomes anxious to get free from the clutches of death. Modern scientists try to avoid death by psychochemical advancement of knowledge. But alas, the controller of death, Yamaraj, is so cruel that he does not spare even the very life of the scientist himself. The scientist who puts forward the theory of stopping death by advancement of scientific knowledge becomes himself a victim of death when he is called by Yamaraj. What to speak of stopping death? No one can enhance the short period of life even by a fraction of a moment. The only hope of suspending the cruel slaughtering process of Yamaraj is to call him, to hear and chant the holy name of the Lord. Yamaraj is a great devotee of the Lord, and he likes to be invited to kirtan and sacrifices by the pure devotees who are constantly engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Thus the great sages, headed by Shaunaka and others, invited Yamaraj to attend the sacrifice performed at Naimisharanya. This was good for those who did not want to die. Text 8. Shaunaka is continuing. He's speaking to Sutta Goswami. As long as Yamaraj, who causes everyone's death, is present here, no one shall meet with death. The great sages have invited the controller of death, Yamaraj, who is a representative of the Lord, living beings who are under his grip should take advantage by hearing the deathless nectar in the form of this narration of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. So we are all looking for the deathless nectar, that amrit, that process, that way in which we can become deathless. So here, they're saying that hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Lord is the deathless nectar. Lazy human beings with paltry intelligence and a short duration of life pass the night sleeping and the day performing activities that are for naught. Sutta Goswami continues. Well, Sutta Goswami said, while Maharaj Pariksit was residing in the capital of the Kuru Empire, the symptoms of the age of Kali began to infiltrate within the jurisdiction of his state. When he learned about this, he did not think the matter very palatable. This did, however, give him a chance to fight. He took up his bow and arrows and prepared himself for military activities. So that's the duty of a warrior and a king, that if there's any irreligion in his kingdom, to immediately put an end to it. Maharaj Pariksit sat in a chariot drawn by black horses. His flag was marked with the sign of a lion. Being so decorated and surrounded by charioteers, cavalry, elephants, and infantry soldiers, he left the capital to conquer in all directions. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that Maharaj Parikit's grandfather, Arjun, was it his grandfather? Yeah. He had a chariot. His horses were white, and on his flag was Hanuman. But on Maharaj Pariksit, he had black horses, and he had a lion emblem on his flag, on his chariot. Maharaj Pariksit then conquered all parts of the earthly planets, Bhadrashva, Ketumala, Bharat, the northern Kuru, Kimpurush, etc., and exacted tributes from their respective rulers. So all these places that are mentioned, some of them are on this earth planet, but some of them are even on other planets. Wherever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord, and also of the glorious acts of Lord Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of Ashvatthama. People also mentioned the great affection between the descendants of Vrishni and Pritha due to the latter's great devotion to Lord Krishna. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes with great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing. Maharaj Pariksit heard that out of his causeless mercy, Lord Krishna, who is universally obeyed, rendered all kinds of services to the malleable sons of Pandu by accepting posts ranging from chariot driver, president, messenger, friend, night watchman, etc., according to the will of the Pandavas, obeying them like a servant and offering obeisances like one younger in years. When he heard this, Maharaj Pariksit became overwhelmed with devotion to the lotus feet of the Lord. Now you may hear from me of what happened while Maharaj Pariksit was passing his days hearing of the good occupation of his forefathers and being absorbed in thought of them. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus Dharma questioned the earth as follows. So here, religion personified in the form of a bull is meeting Mother Earth in the form of a cow. And he's seeing that she is dejected. And Dharma is going to ask why. Dharma asks, Madam, Mother, are you not hale and hearty? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become darkish. Are you suffering from some internal disease, or are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place? I have lost my 3 legs and am now standing on only one. Are you lamenting for my state of existence? Or are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat-eaters will exploit you? Or are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings, because no sacrifices are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for living because of their sufferings due to famine and drought? Are you feeling compunction for the unhappy women and children who are left forlorn by unscrupulous persons? Or are you unhappy because the goddess of learning is being handled by brahmanas addicted to acts against the principles of religion? Or are you sorry to see that the brahmanas, having taken shelter of administrative families that do not respect Brahminical culture? The so-called administrators are now bewildered by the influence of this age of Kali, and thus they have put all state affairs into disorder. Are you now lamenting this disorder? Now the general populace does not follow the rules and regulations for eating, sleeping, drinking, mating, and they are inclined to perform such anywhere and everywhere. Are you unhappy because of this? O Mother Earth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, incarnated himself as Lord Sri Krishna, just to unload your heavy burden. All his activities here are transcendental, and they cement the path of liberation. You are now bereft of his presence. You are probably now thinking of those activities and feeling sorry in their absence. Mother, you are the reservoir of all riches. Please inform me of the root cause of your tribulations, by which you have been reduced to such a weak state. I think that the powerful influences of time, which conquers the most powerful, might have forcibly taken away all your fortune, which was adored even by the demigods. Mother Earth had become so fortunate and glorious and opulent because of the presence of Lord Krishna. The earthly deity, in the form of a cow, thus replied to the personality of religious principles in the form of a bull. O Dharma, whatever you have inquired from me shall be known to you. I shall try to reply to all those questions. Once you too were maintained by your 4 legs, and you increased happiness all over the universe by the mercy of the Lord. So now Mother Earth is going to speak some of the qualities of the Lord. In Him, in the Lord, reside truthfulness, cleanliness, intolerance of another's unhappiness, the power to control anger, self-satisfaction, straightforwardness, steadiness of mind, control of the sense organs, responsibility, equality, tolerance, equanimity, faithfulness, knowledge, absence of sense enjoyment, leadership, chivalry, influence, the power to make everything possible, the discharge of proper duty, complete independence, dexterity, fullness of all beauty, serenity, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, magnanimity, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution, possession of all objects of enjoyment, joyfulness, immovability, fidelity, fame, worship, pridelessness, being the personality of Godhead, eternity, and many other transcendental qualities which are eternally present and never to be separated from Him. That personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all goodness and beauty, Lord Sri Krishna, has now closed His transcendental pastimes on the face of the earth. In His absence, the age of Kali has spread its influence everywhere. So I am sorry to see this condition of existence. This is Mother Earth speaking. I am thinking about myself and also, O best amongst the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, the sages, the denizens of the Pitri Lok, the devotees of the Lord, and all people obedient to the system of Varna and Ashrama in human society. Mother Earth has so much love and care for her children. She is lamenting the present state of existence. And us, as humans, we disregard her in so many ways. Dharma, in the shape of a bull, is only walking on one leg because his other 3 legs have been broken off. Lakshmi Ji, the goddess of fortune, whose glance of grace was sought by demigods like Brahma, and for whom they surrendered many a day unto the personality of Godhead, gave up her own abode in the forest of lotus flowers and engaged herself in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. I was endowed with specific powers to supersede the fortune of all the 3 planetary systems by being decorated with the impressions of the flag, thunderbolt, elephant, driving rod, and lotus flower, which are signs of the lotus feet of the Lord. But at the end, when I felt I was so fortunate, the Lord left me. O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing, strength, and thus He also incarnated by His internal energy in the family of the Yadus to relieve you. Who therefore can tolerate the pangs of separation from that Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could conquer the gravity and passionate wrath of his sweethearts like Satyabhama by his sweet smile of love, pleasing glance, and hearty appeals when he transversed my surface, meaning the earth's surface. I would be immersed in the dust of his lotus feet, and thus would be sumptuously covered with grass, which appeared like hairs standing on me out of pleasure. While the earth and the personality of religion were thus engaged in conversation, the saintly King Pariksit reached the shore of the Saraswati river, which flowed towards the east. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled How Pariksit Received the Age of Kali. Jai. Go Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Radhe Radhe, Govinda Govinda, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Govinda Govinda, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Govinda Govinda, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Govinda